We're not building this to take over construction. We're building this to change the backache that construction is and has been and continues to be, because people are unwilling to let go of those parts of their task load. But it doesn't mean that we want their brains to stop working. We want to give them the right information so that their brain can work better, work smarter, work more collaboratively, collectively on the parts of the workflow that help them build better, help the job actually get done in a more efficient way.
Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond the Build, the podcast where innovation meets collaboration in the world of construction. We bring together thought leaders and industry experts to explore the cutting-edge ideas transforming construction equipment, supply chains, building materials, and workforce productivity.
This podcast is proudly brought to you by Faro, the revolutionary last-mile logistics platform, redefining how high-value, time-sensitive construction deliveries get done. Need it fast? Need it right? Faro it.
Hey everyone, today we are joined by Nick Bartella and Agostino Mastroianni, leaders at Revalate, who both have lived and worked on both sides of the construction industry. Today we're diving into how artificial intelligence is transforming the back office, reducing admin headache, improving operational efficiency, and giving contractors more time to focus on building, not paperwork. Nick and Agostino, welcome to Beyond the Build.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
Which AI platform are you guys wrapping around?
We built our own.
Yeah, are you building it, or are you training an existing AI to basically model what you guys are doing?
The latter. So we're building the platform, and then with the AI, we're using things like OpenAI, Claude, so the top ones in the background.
Yeah, that's my biggest learning curve for me. You know, I came from the industry. You know, I tell people I'm a knuckle dragger. I was heavy equipment. I don't know tech, right? But now with the innovation of AI, you know, what I found is everybody's using like one of the 4 AIs that were built. It's just who can train it with the prompts correctly to say, hey, we've trained this AI to do what we say it's going to do. So now you can understand it, because I think once people start to realize like how to ask the right questions, how to ask the right prompts, is where it becomes really cool. Because now we're all trying to do like a Google search and type in, and it's like, what are you really asking me? And so we're going through all of these prompts. So as you, like you said, you guys trained in a certain way and built it. So, hey, we built the prompt. We know what you're asking, and here we're going to give you the answers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going at it a bit of a different
cool.
angle.
It's going to make us accelerate our growth. I know that for sure. In an industry like JP was saying, that's very, very, very slow to turn the ship.
Have you guys worked with any other folks that are kind of in the same, area, or maybe not the same niche, but how's collaboration been with other folks? Because there's a lot of folks working on AI tools right now. One, Alex Poe, was a great guest that we had on a couple months ago. He is more on the a sales agent side, where he builds AI sales agents for training purposes, so that you can put your sales team on call after call after call with, if you want it to be the rudest, most hard to sell to person on the planet, to really just train them and get them to know how to effectively navigate those conversations in a positive way. So have you guys, been networking with folks that are doing similar things?
Yeah, the collaborations that we're working on now are more from the perspective of they either have or want to build their own construction management software, but want to use our AI platform essentially under the hood. So either white label or, take components of it, use it under the hood. So it amalgamates like their process with our advanced AI, and then, they'll sell it as their own. So it's more of a, let's say, white label partnership agency.
Yeah. Give me that big 10,000 foot overview, because you're mentioning agents, which, is essentially a, call it a bot or a entity that does an action, that performs a duty. What are some of those, agents doing in your software? What are your main targets that you're trying to, the stressors that you're alleviating for your customers?
I'll let Nick take this one because I've been talking too much.
This never happens. No, please keep going. I get a break. This is fantastic. I don't want to talk. I'm listening. Your turn. You're up, pal.
So we took a lot of time to figure out what our clients needed from the AI's perspective. We wanted to be beyond the ChatGPT. A lot of construction platforms out there these days are now sprinkling in AI, chat with it, have it clean up your email, whatever. We're going beyond that to have AI do something for you. So that's where the agent comes into play. So things like estimating agent, expense agent, we're evolving that into other areas of the project management workflow. So it'll be things like invoicing agent, task agent. So now let's say with our estimating, it'll have a similar chat function, but now the actions it'll take, like Scott, you're mentioning, we're tailoring it for construction. So it's specially designed to take your drawing and do a takeoff of that. Now go to your database, now search your database or search online for prices, your favorite Home Depot or Lowe's, or input a URL for your favorite supplier. Now it'll do all those actions, amalgamate that into a professionally structured estimate for you, ready to go. You click a button, send off to your client. So things like that, or connect your email, like your Gmail account, have it watch for invoices, receipts, either from suppliers, vendors, guys in the field sending your Home Depot receipts, have that AI watch it, organize that into your Google Drive folder, into your app project folder, scrape all the information, categorize them based on things like labor, material, equipment. So now you have the full project management from estimate over to job costing without you even lifting a finger.
When we started Revalate, we came from construction into custom construction software. We saw a gap dealing with some of the tools that exist and existed, and seeing that typically, great, we have a wonderful place to work in. I'm going to use maybe 10, 20, 30% of this platform, and I'm going to work in it. When I find the time, I make the time, I have the time. Over the years, we got such great feedback about what contractors do use and don't have the time to use, don't want to make the time to use. And those are the elements that we're building into the platform to do for them so that they can focus on building the business, focus on building better projects, focusing on quality, reputation, sales, doing the job that, and now the parts of the building the business, owning the business, operating the business that either they don't have the skill set, want the skill set, have time for the skill set, we bring in AI to perform those tedious, mundane tasks and give them a nice place to see where everything has been done, give them control of how it's being done. We're still keeping very much the custom spirit to it, so that it never becomes something that we designed because we think this is how you work and this is how you should work. We want this to be an experience for the customer that says, well, this is how I do it. This is what makes our company, and this is how we work. So now I need the AI to listen to me and perform the tasks the way I need it done, and have that malleability within the tool where they'll be able to adjust things. Yeah, I usually tell at our podcast, JP's past life of being a movie director. I have a question about AI you guys might be able to answer. I referenced the movie, I think JP was iBot or iRobot with Will Smith or something like that. Construction being a very, straightforward, sometimes rough. Do you have to be nice to AI? Do you have to say please and thank you? And do you get better responses if you're actually civil, or can you, to your point, build them custom? Hey, asshole, tell me, what should I be doing because I know everything. Can you talk to it that way?
My little trick to that is I've taken a different approach, and whenever it's not doing what I want it to do, I'll say, hey, I've just asked you to do something. You made a mistake. I tried another AI system and it got it right. You better do the same. I don't know.
You put him
Answer
against
that.
Now the
give
problem
him
is,
a
to your point,
sibling
Scott.
rivalry.
Yeah.
To your point, Scott. Though, if this thing ever does become like iRobot, it's probably going to remember this stuff. So, I don't know. There's kind of there's probably a give and take thing we want to, but no, really pointed remarks, pointed requests. That's typically the best approach and that's the thing, people are so used to talking and being friendly, and because that's what helps get the job done. The best part of AI is it's a 24-hour system that doesn't have feelings, gets tired, needs to take a break, needs to have its handheld. It's get the job done. Here's how I need the job done. Go to work. Thank you very much. Minus the
I
thank
like
you
the
very
fact
much.
that it prompts you too. I go back to when I was working in, corporate. I did 20 years in construction rental. So, we knew the gear that needed to be there, and rental's just a small part of, the construction market. I believe North America, it's like 78 billion a year. So it's a fraction of what the actual construction market is. But we used to build like dashboards, right? Like, what is your time utilization? What's your delivery on time schedule? And now with the AI tools, I look at from a construction perspective, like we have all this information everywhere, different departments. Maybe some companies have elevated to create some dashboard, but I really see like it elevating to the point, and I'm going to use a space that we're in where I could put a speaker on my lapel, or my shirt, hard hat, and say, hey, I need 2 19-foot scissor lifts and a compressor to my job site off of, Darby Road. Find me 5 rental companies that can get it here, and what's the lowest price or medium price. And it just gets to the point where it will tell you all that information and be like, do you want me to call them for you right now? And you're like, absolutely. Because on construction, time is money, and wrench time, it continues to fall. And the newer generation wants to have some new fun toy to work with. And the older generation's like, dude, I've done it this way for 30 years. Like, I just learned how to take pictures with a filter. Like, I don't need anything else.
So, funny you say
and
that,
they just-
Scott. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say they just need shit done, which is essentially what the AI is helping you to do, is just get it done.
And we built it that way. Looking at this from a generational standpoint, we're at an interesting point in time where there's an evolution in generation. There's, guys that are still in their 70s doing it, that pen and paper and a filing cabinet. Then there's guys in their 40s, 50s that came up with the evolution of tech, that are still wrapping their head around it, and they're using it more for the gimmick of it, as opposed to the real world application and the power that it has. And then you have the newer generation that are like, why is, let's use more of this and stop killing ourselves. So the tool is, the way we approached that was, let's give the user, the operator, access to all 3 worlds as far as how they want to use it. Again, where we see the real benefit of custom, because now if you use a notepad, you've been using a notepad and a pen for 50 years. It doesn't matter if this thing does your taxes for you. You're using a notepad and a pen. So use it and take a picture and let the thing do the rest of the work. That's the idea. That, and in business, the best part from our viewpoint in relation to what they see, what they know, business intelligence in construction is something that we see being paramount to getting a real ROI from technology, because now it can do its bean counting for you that you don't make time for, that you don't think to do, that count the costs that you're not thinking about because they're so small and they come up at the weirdest times. These are some of the things that we're keeping a close eye on and building into our designs, so that you'll see how much time is being put into a task, and how much time is being saved, and how much money you actually saved with working with that supplier versus this supplier and that supplier. Now you're getting those kinds of metrics in an ingestible way, so that as you're growing your business, you have a full-time planner with you that says, hey, here's a few recommendations based on the way you want this thing to go. So now it's not guesswork anymore. You can see right in front of you how things are actually working before the end of the project, before the end of the year, when it might be too late. The success rates in this industry are atrocious. And it's typically because, most guys go into this business with a passion to build and an eye open for opportunity. And there are so many variables, little intricacies that nobody explains, nobody really knows until you're in it and it's too late. And now you're either getting lucky, cutting corners, or closing up shop. That's what we're hoping to be able to create visibility around, while picking up the slack for the guys that they don't have operational revenue, that they can build infrastructure to have teams that do this for them. Or if they do and they're trying to scale faster, they're not overcapacitated with work they didn't expect to take on in the time frame that they've been given it. Now they have that, that breathing room. This is where AI can really, really benefit.
Yeah, and I see the correlation between great teams and good tools to make it happen. And because the age old of, for like construction industry, you guys remember, you'll take a guy that's super talented, great welder, great carpenter, but you tell him to do payroll and he's like, what? Wait, huh? So, you try to like someone in the field from someone in the back office. And JP and I had a guest on recently that, I was asking him how he scaled his business. I go, is it just one guy in a truck or like one of four guys? He's like, truth be told, I never picked up a wrench, right? Like I'm there to more, conduct the orchestra or the teams. So he's really good at the business side, not so much the trade side. But my question for you, sorry, JB, and I'll let you go too, is I'm super curious because we know AI is advancing and it works. What have you guys found to be the secret sauce between be a progressive disruptor and changing the culture of the end user from, hey, this is a thing, to a gimmick, to the FOMO, like we need to use this? Like, how do you move that needle in adoption successfully?
I have an answer, but I think Agostino will be able to answer this pretty cool too. If he wants to talk again, you tell me. Once upon a time, this was a gimmick, right? What's wrong with the cord phone? I hang it on the wall. It does what I need it to do. What I think is gonna help adoption the most is simplicity. The problem with a lot of these different companies is they want to sound the best. They got to present, this extremely valuable / complex tool that everybody should have. That we believe in design with simplicity and real world application. You can give the user, give the customer, give the contractor, give this industry something that isn't so scary. The other thing is, and we found it interesting getting into this game, the learning curve that a lot of these companies expect of their customer is ridiculous. I almost used the word that you might not have to be potent today, but it's ridiculous. Okay. It's hard enough to find the time to use the thing to do your work. And now you got to find the time to bring in the training team that's going to sit with your guys who don't want to use the thing, to teach them how to use the thing, so that eventually everybody's using it and it's working for the company the way you hope. Why would you want to bring that into your company? Why would you want to bring that paper and pen work just fine. Get rid of this stupid shit. I don't want to. And that's the challenge I think that exists today. And that's why our angle of build them a tool that does more of the work they don't want to do for them is so important to us, because we see that if we give them another tool that's going to take them 6 months for their team to adopt, or for them to actually see the value in, what the hell is the point? We're not innovating. We're not disrupting anything. We're like everybody else. And they've already gone through that. That's the reason why it's so slow, because you're taking a guy that understands building a structure and forcing him to learn how to think as if he was working in corporate and like it. I don't know how user is actually going to happen.
To add to that, and Scott, to your point of, some guys are made for the field. They're really good at their craft, but our organizational or the operational, the business sense is not quite there, because that's not what they were built on, trained on, and even want to do. So from that user adoption standpoint, where we built it on the simplicity side, but plus the agent side, where it's doing the work for them. So 90% of that organization and that work is done for them. So now from even a scalability side, they don't need to have a full-time bookkeeper, a full-time accountant, or a full-time office manager. They could get to those levels in stages, having the work done for them already, and then maybe having that, click a button, send it off to their accountant, or have that integration over to QuickBooks so their part-time bookkeeper could organize it from their standpoint. So now it helps get those people from that one-man show over to that large organization without having to spend thousands of dollars a month on software that they couldn't afford, even though they need that work and that visibility of the valuable information, the metrics into their business, that live job costing, so they know whether they're being profitable or not.
Yeah.
That's how
you mentioned. Oh, sorry. Do you finish your thought?
No, I was just gonna say that's how you improve that user adoption with that.
Yeah. So you said simplicity, and I actually kind of wholeheartedly agree that when you're presented with a tool as a business or at a company, sometimes like, oh, great. I'm going to be training for 2 days, a week, 2 weeks for a tool that we might use 10% of, or it might fade into non-use. And as so many softwares that companies try to adopt, that inevitably goes that direction sometimes. So the simplicity sounds like where it's more of you're treating this agent as an extension of the business, as an employee, saying, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Are you also looking at more flipping that script where the agent starts thinking of things, processes, procedures that need to be done in the future without needing to be prompted by the user? So instead of me saying, hey, can you run our quarterly reports? Instead, a week before the quarter comes up, the agent will say, hey, by the way, quarterly reports are coming up. Do you want me to run those? And so it almost takes the thought out of having to remember or tell it what to do. I want you to do this, this, and this. And it's more like saying, hey, I think we should be doing this, this, and this based on your business.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of cool things coming up soon. So already with our AI estimator, it'll predict things. Let's say you throw it a scope of work and you've built your estimate. It'll now suggest, hey, you may want to include, you forgot fencing in your demolition plan for site prep, or you forgot, this type of material for some masonite on the floor for, again, site preparation, or things like that you may have missed within your scope of work. With the AI predictiveness that you're talking about, we're building that into our analytics. Since we have all that information there already, it'll now start looking at trends like your spending habits to say, hey, I know you've quoted and estimated this amount for your budget, but your guys have already spent 120% of that, and you still have 6 months left on the project. Red flag, maybe you want to look into this. Things like that is where we can now take that AI with that predictive element of it and now start, questioning it, but giving you the visibility on what to do next in your project.
And to go back to Scott's point about adoption, Agostino is using a key word, make suggestions. We want to keep control at company level. We don't want the AI to now start dominating the process, because the moment that starts to happen, the moment things start getting overlooked, mistakes start happening, and now the company says, I'm not going to trust this thing. It's a piece of garbage.
That becomes a liability.
Exactly. So what we want to do is we want to give information, and we want the professionals to vet that information and make an informed decision. Keep control, but have the horsepower that puts everything that you need in front of you before you made a decision that could hurt you.
Yeah, you're really what you're doing is you're expanding the bandwidth of the resources. Because I'm going to frame this because of my space. So, construction logistics, right? When we built the Faro app, my end user for like UI was my 5th grade son and my 75-year-old father. And I was like, if you two can figure out how to navigate this journey without any help, then we've got a simple platform that you can use, right? But I think that's only one evolution. As I'm hearing you guys talk, I'm wondering what percentage of key things in the industry can be taken, I'm using this tongue in cheek, not taken over by AI, but enhanced. And the way I look at it is like, again, logistics. We're in a space where AI, all it's going to do is enhance us. You still need a person to deliver a skid steer or a compressor to a job site. Like, until drones can basically teleport or do whatever, like, you're still going to have that. So we're kind of insulated from the AI. But now my wheels are spinning because, the biggest challenge in construction logistics was, hey, I've got 52 feet of deck space and I've got 300 different cat classes of equipment. And if I load balance this correctly, how many pieces can I get on a truck to a job site in X amount of time? Well, when we try to load balance with squares and cubic, manufacturers are different. And me being a driver and being around, I'm like, no. You take the mast, you put the mast up, you drop it this way. I can fit 2 more things under there. AI told me, or whatever told me, I can get 6 pieces or 5 pieces on there. No, I can get 7. How'd you do that? Because I've been doing it for 20 years. You don't take the stored, footprint. You start modifying, to your point. That's real world application. So now you've got users that can monitor the suggestion and be like, hey, great start. But if we did this too, we can increase capacity by 20%. And JP, I'm even thinking order process. The archaic way of our customers, they like to do a thing way. They're still using AS400 ERPs, which are bulletproof, look like Ataris, right? And they're entering keystrokes and doing whatever. But now if you get to a point where you can literally talk to something, right? Or the data just flows in, now you're taking your resources and you're saying, hey, I own 25 semis, but I've got 56 orders on the board. I got all the information, route my trucks, and then distribute the remaining to Faro based on their platform. And so now all of a sudden that dispatcher doesn't have to spend 2 hours trying to, Tetris the order balance. And AI is like, boom, I got all your routes done in like 5 minutes. Go get more orders. Like, what's up?
So I think that there's a couple of phases to this. To Nick's point, where we're being suggestive, and because of that liability aspect too, we want humans to still have that review process and make the decision, especially with the experience that you're talking about. But then the other factor of it is AI ready, and are people ready for that? So AI, it's almost there. We're kind of in this agentic phase now, which is questionable. Some people think that we're not there yet. Some people say we are. So we're on that cusp. The next stage of that is that super intelligence, when AI knows more than the best person in their field, but also the best person of every field. Once we're at that level, then we're ready. However, people still need to be able to adopt that. So when people are ready to have, hands-off control, give it to the AI and have it take care of all that ordering process for you or whatever process that is, then the two can meet and have a, fully autonomous system and AI taking care of their business. That I think is still going to be a while. From that perspective, when that happens, every app, even the one that we're building, is going to have to change completely, because now it's going to be more of a review process. AI has already done everything for you. So it's just a matter of now being in the field or having an order to your site, right? So it's going to happen in phases. There's people that are talking about, 5 years, 10 years. People don't really know when that's going to happen. It will eventually get to that point, but it's going to be a while until I think the technology will be there first. People will adopt it later.
I just hope it doesn't turn into the next internet, right? Like the internet was probably the greatest invention, and one of them. But at the same time, look what it did to us. Like we're so polarized by like all the information on what's going on, like 10,000 miles away. Like we've got problems in our own house, but we're like, yeah, but let's look what's going on here, and the anxiety and the social pressure. And it's like, how do we get to a point where, I'm thinking everyday practical use, right? We've talked about here is like, we're so gluttonous as a society that we literally have boxes showing up on our porch and we don't even remember what we ordered. We're like, I don't know. Another delivery driver just showed up with a box. Let's see what Christmas present I ordered last week. Right?
This starts to get mad when the delivery driver is by first name. Hey, John, Sam.
I would say yes, other than the fact that it's like the FedEx truck shows up and the driver gets out, and then like 20 minutes later, another FedEx shop. I'm like, could you guys got that on the same truck? Like, my dogs are going off right now because delivery drivers are coming up and I just hear them barking.
Yeah. Constant.
To play devil's advocate a little bit here, something that has kind of caught my ear recently is some recent, like, early emergent studies that might be suggesting that the reliance on technology, the internet, your phones, and now emergent AI is more or less allowing our brains to become soft. It is allowing us to be dumber, where we are, for the first time in a long time, we might be seeing a downturn of a significant amount in terms of IQ and other kind of knowledge-based metrics. What are your thoughts with that potentially being the case, and how do we approach where we have this super intelligent entity that can do so much for us, and it potentially no longer requiring a human to know all of those details, but at the same time, you do need a human that knows all those details, because it needs to be able to call out, hey, you made a mistake here, for that human review.
Are we losing that knowledge? Turn into a mushroom?
Yeah, well, so I think there's a big spotlight today on brand and company responsibility that is being ignored because of what's possible. I know there's a lot of talk today specifically around some of the conversations that individuals are having with AI and how out of bounds the AI is going with these conversations, because there are no safety metrics or no guardrails being applied to this. And when and realistically, at the end of the day, guys, the proof is always going to be in the pudding. You're going to look at a product like Revalate's Studio and know whether or not this is another tool that's being built to take over or being built to actually help. And our building philosophy is very much to help. It's not to say that the AI can't make the decision for you. It's not to say that the AI won't make a better decision for you. It's to say that it shouldn't. We're not building this to take over construction. We're building this to change the backache that construction is and has been and continues to be, because people are unwilling to let go of those parts of their task load. But it doesn't mean that we want their brains to stop working. We want to give them the right information so that their brain can work better, work smarter, work more collaboratively, collectively on the parts of the workflow that help them build better, help the job actually get done in a more efficient way. And I think as so long as we as a company come at it from that perspective, then we can deliver a product that is of actual value. Do all companies follow that mantra? No. And that, I think, is what the problem is. I think people want it. So I'm going to give it to them because it took our usership from 0 to 100 million in 2 weeks. So keep pumping the drug. Okay,
Nick,
cool. But that's
I
also
love
the
your
reason why
optimism. I love your optimism, Nick. I do.
It's not, listen, I get it. Believe me. And,
I feel like there's a but
there
after
was
that.
listen, I'm a big
Let's go
history
back to the
buff.
remote control for the TV.
There was a time where like a guy like Henry Ford said the car is going to be the best thing ever, until somebody got into the first accident and it was horrific. As altruistic and as responsible as we are trying to be, it's also part of the reason why we kept custom and we are going custom, because we feel that it ensures that the community, that the industry is going to keep us honest as well. We're not building a tool that says, here it is, guys, we hope you love it. It's, guys, break it, come back in a week, tell us how you want us to fix it. That kind of feedback is also going to keep us honest in relation to how soon people want those decisions made for them. Do you guys ever think this is going to get to a place where the boss is going to say, you know what, I'm done making these decisions. AI, do it for me. I hope not to see that day. But I mean, there's,
I'm excited for that.
I think it's going to be used in a way that people probably are not even thinking, right? Like I go back to here my butt was, it's like the remote control. Imagine what it used to be like when we had to change the channel. Now we just sit and
you
just
had to get up.
Yeah, now we just sit and press a button. No, we don't even do that. We just talk to it. Hey, change the channel. Like we just you give somebody the tool and then they exploit it. But I think where the really differentiator, if we use it, I think everything is hopefully built for a good intention. And then humans go and, play human on it. But think about the biggest concern right now in construction. It's not tech, right? It's not supply chain, everything. It's labor. Like we don't have enough good tradespeople that can actually do the work. So if we're able to basically say, hey, we don't have these positions anymore for you to, think and engineer, like there's a tool now, like maybe it's going to force some people to be like, I should probably go learn a life skill then. And maybe I become a welder or an electrician or something, because it pays really good and you're watching the shift, right? Where it used to be like, oh, I'm a developer. Great. I'd call for 200,000 a year. We're like, now we have a tool. And now you're seeing like mechanics making 130 grand a year because you're like, I don't have any. Ford's trying to hire people right now and like can't find people that for 120,000 a year. So you might see this shift in a positive way where we get more people that have a life skill and they get paid for that life skill, something that's, better than what's currently today.
We had an awesome guest, Alex Poe. I've already mentioned him once. His company is Chamber. One of the things he was most excited about up and coming with kind of the advent of AI was robotics. Do you have opinions on that facet as we are seeing more and more advanced robotics coming out, and we know it'll be the same thing where it only is going to get better? So right now, yeah, we're laughing that it takes a robot 2 minutes to put a single dish into a dishwasher. But fast forward 3 years from now, it might be throwing dishes from across the room and hitting those racks every single time perfectly. What are your opinions on robotics? And is that at all in your roadmap, not necessarily to develop, but maybe have software that has actual, labor, as Scott was saying?
Well, NVIDIA is pretty advanced with their robotics, so I don't know if we're going to be going up against them anytime soon. But being in the trade myself, had over 20 years experience as electrician, foreman, project manager, and electrical inspector. So I've seen a little bit from every aspect of it. Robots are going to come for sure in construction, but I would say like everything else is going to come in phases, and it's probably going to be doing the larger, more manual labor jobs first. It's easier to grab a cinder block rather than wire up a control panel with a really small wire. So it's going to be harder at those small, tedious jobs, especially the more technical ones, electrical, mechanical, compared to, building a structure. So like everything is going to happen in phases. It's going to come sooner than probably we expect. There are a lot even 3D printing houses, like just things you couldn't even imagine a few years ago, and they're already being developed now. I believe there was one company in Canada, actually GTA, that brought in the first 3D printed machine to start building a house here. For your listeners, Greater Toronto area. And yeah, so things are happening already, and it's just the start of it.
Is that something that you're both excited about, or do you have any trepidations about the robotics revolution that's impending?
I think overall, as an economy, we're probably more concerned, or at least personally, although I'm an optimist as well, and I see the potential in everything. So there's going to be a shift, definitely. It's going to replace some jobs, definitely. But I think that it'll also open up opportunities for new career paths. So all these new technologies, the AI, the robotics, they're going to need new positions and fields to now manage those. Even though we might replace some certain jobs in construction, you're always, at least for the foreseeable future, have those managers, people overseeing it, project managers, and those higher ups in every one of those positions, I think are going to be the longer run of this. In 50 years, who the hell knows? But at least for the short term, foreseeable future, you're going to have more AI robotics as doing the work for you, and then positions of reviewing that work.
Nick, do you agree or have a different take?
I too am an optimist. I also appreciate that, to Scott's point, we tend to go all human over good things and see the other side of it too. I think as so long as we're smart about it, it can be amazing. It could be an amazing thing. Especially for those really painstaking tasks. And what it will do is will force those individuals that were in those menial jobs to level up, which could be a good thing. But there's, always two sides to the coin when it comes to having to take your fate into your own hands when things evolve, right? So, I definitely see the power of all of this stuff. I agree with Agostino. I think it's going to happen sooner than most people anticipate. Just like, you think about it, guys. I think everybody in this room once upon a time used a cord on a phone.
I wish it was still there. I wish it was still there, because then it wouldn't make me accountable. Like, when I'm gone and you didn't make the list, then I'll hit you next time.
That's it.
Now, I don't know if you guys have kids.
You get me at home or at the office, I'll talk to you next week. It's going to be great.
I don't know if you guys have kids, but it's like the etiquette now. It's like, oh, I texted you. Like, why didn't you respond back? I'm like, guys, a text is just a request. It doesn't mean I need to get back to you. Like, I have my levels, right? There's an etiquette, but last time I checked, not to be pompous, but am I control my schedule? Like, yeah, I am. I don't need to just respond because you requested something. And it goes back to the leveling up, right? Like my buddy and I were talking about the other day. It's like there's usually 3 types of people. There's the producers, the consumers, and the just enoughs. I'm like, try not to be the latter of the two.
Yeah.
Right? Go produce something, add value, be productive, serve others, be humble. right? Those
That's
are
where
the
the
things that like,
opportunity is, Scott. You're right,
yeah,
man. And can you imagine everybody gets on that page and now says, look, guys, we got the tools. We don't got to kill ourselves anymore. Let's put our thinking hats on. Let's start working at this thing collectively, figure out how to build better.
yeah. If you go primitive, I mean, listen, you eat because you produced. You know, the more we enhance to be like, hey, do nothing, get rewarded. Well, of course, people are just going to naturally gravitate to that. But again, going back to primitive, it's like, hey, you can do nothing. You're just not going to eat with the rest of us because you're a pile. And piles eat the leftovers. And oh, there wasn't any. So have fun sleeping tonight. Or get up and do something.
Yeah. And then once you get the government and involved in this conversation, we need another couple hours to straighten out that mess. But that's that, and that's the other challenge. A lot of this stuff when we talk AI globally, you would think that collectively we start listening to each other a little bit better and start looking a little bit further down the road to make sure that everybody makes it there safely. And I think if we can keep that narrative going and make sure that everybody is on the same page, and when they're not, we have a progressive dialogue. It's not just two people yelling at each other because it makes them feel good kind of stuff. It's, this could be, there could be a tremendous future for everybody. It's, unfortunately, people tend to go all human and start yelling at each other because that's what they felt like doing in that 30 minutes. So
it's an interesting thing, man, because our tech, it's evolving so quickly and we're still using these, ape brains, like highly evolved ape brains, essentially, like more or less, and our ability to we are a biological computer, and our ability to adapt and change is limited to time, and we cannot change at the time scale that that technology can. So it is absolutely going to be. It's going to be a mix of some great heroes and some great villains in terms of how folks utilize the type of tech.
Well, I think also
to your point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say is JP, to your point before about is AI turning our brain into mush. If you're using AI to learn because it can do that for you, you have everything at your fingertips now. It's like back in the day having a nice encyclopedia.
Yep. The barrier to entry to knowledge we have built the digital library of Alexandria. There's no doubt about it.
The challenge is where AI gets its information. So from my understanding, it goes through cultural patterns, history, and things that we've done, right? And when I take it for something like let's say the law, right? The law is the law. There's not up to your interpretation. Like, well, I think of it differently, right? The whole
I'm not sure if that's true, Scott. You may want to talk to a lawyer about that one. The law is not the law. That's why we have a Supreme Court to interpret the law. That's their job.
Well,
and they interpret it differently every time they have a new
I also
commander-in-chief.
run into people who say, well, this is my truth. And I'm like, okay, hold on. There's the truth and your perception of what you feel is the truth. Right. So we get into this conversation and, not to even take it a little bit more socially, but it's like, okay, there's a big difference between hate speech and speech you hate. Right. Like we get into this merry-go-round of just like, well, this is what it means to me and I'm being the best myself. And it's like, okay, so it is all about you. Right. If like the whole goal is to be like someone that leads, I called, MVP, and I stole this from Tim Tebow, if you know who he is, to serve the most vulnerable people. Like, stop making everything about you and start figuring out how you serve others and give them tools, give them an opportunity to learn, right? And to your point, customize it because everybody thinks and plays at different speeds.
It also helps them, keep that individuality alive. And now you're not arguing with me. You do you. You want your platform to respond or perform in this fashion, hey, go nuts. You don't have to do it my way, because that's the problem, I think, is everybody wants to coexist and work together, but everybody wants to be right at the same time. And unfortunately, that never works. It's more about if we're going to work together, and this is the biggest, I think this is the biggest paradigm that needs to shift. We need to get out of the win-lose and find a win-win. We don't do that enough. And it's because of the industry specifically is very much I'll get you next time, whether it's a positive or a negative, that's coming. And I think, so long as if we can figure that one out, how to shift that paradigm to how do we win-win? Win-win-win-win-win. Let's identify what the losses are. Let's do that together too. So we're still winning. So this isn't about who's getting the bigger piece. It's about making sure this pie keeps coming out of the oven. And when that starts to happen, I think, again, back to opportunity, there's tremendous upside. Unfortunately, it's too easy to get people back into that A brain you were talking about, JP. It's so much easier. You just get everybody thinking about themselves, like you said, Scott, and now it's, well, how am I better than you? And that's why we keep losing.
I want to pivot back to Revalate. There's a couple of points I want to unpack a little bit more and get an understanding. One is, I'm curious about how you are, working with other softwares. I assume that that's a big part of it. If you're going to ask an agent to do something, it needs to be able to talk to the system that it's, performing that action in. So I'm curious to learn a little bit more about how those integrations are done successfully. And then on top of that, what are kind of the top 2 or 3 areas that you're seeing the most success with in terms of someone coming in, plugging and playing, and getting immediate, time saved returns?
Yeah, so from let's say the integration side on the agent, we've built our agents to follow a particular workflow. So let's say within our app itself, Revalate AI Studio, connecting with your Gmail account, connecting with your Google Drive accounts, we've designed it specific for that workflow to do it automatically for you. So you don't have to tell your agent, hey, upload this file for me. It's doing that automatically. So that's where we've taken that admin side and the construction specific agent, rather than going to ChatGPT and hoping that it uploads it in the correct folder, is now taking care of that for you. Other things like our QuickBooks integration and our REST API, it will have then the ability to, integrate with thousands of other apps. At that point then it is a matter of having those construction specific workflows. And this is where we bring in our expertise on knowing, all right, based on this request, what do you expect it to do in this other software? So that's where we can now tailor our AI to now get those actions correct. Do I need to create an invoice in my QuickBooks? Do I need to maybe pull some information from my takeoff software and organize it into this, or my lead management CRM from my website? Now this is how we'll tailor those commands through the AI to make sure that it gets the right action done as you expect it to. Also with some user approval within those steps, again, giving people control over it rather than it just performing an action that you didn't expect it to. So visibility is super important. So essentially that's how we plan to achieve that one.
Is that all happening via API for the most part? So where it's basically the systems talking to each other, or is it ever where, a virtual agent is on a, virtual computer and is dragging a mouse and clicking buttons and performing, those type of more manual actions where, is it always an API or is it also more of a virtual computer?
So it's all API for the actions. Now with our web-based search, that is more of not quite the click and browser approach, but it is accessing certain information on the web, let's say looking at Home Depot prices. So it's through that perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. And where are you having the most success right now, or where do you anticipate to have the most success? So one thing that we've kind of decided to do is go very niche with Faro, where it's like, hey, we have focus on equipment rental. We're helping you with your logistical challenges, getting items from point A to point B in, as little as an hour sometimes. Are you finding that you want to focus on a specific niche within construction, or are you going a bit more broad and trying to just let the market tell you where the focus needs to be, or how's that approach been?
In terms of trade, for that, not trade.
Yeah. It could be. You tell me, I guess, because
We're
it could be
focusing
trade
more. Yeah, we're focusing more
Yeah.
on the process rather than the trade. So
Yeah.
for us, our AI estimating agent has been the most successful because we found it's the most tedious to organize all your information and gather all your information in the right place again, so you can make the decision on the right price. So amalgamating all that information from your drawing, from your specs, from your notes that you scribbled on a notepad while you're on site, your price book, maybe some other resources, and even your historical data from your past projects, making sure all that's upfront, as well as some of that CRM data like your contacts and what you priced on the last job and some of their information. So having all that up front and at your fingertips quickly, and then you throw in some of that web search for prices online to get that comparative aspect from, hey, what maybe some other people are charging for their labor rates. Getting that from hours of research down to seconds or minutes, that's where we're most successful then.
For us, it's more about the productivity aspect of it. My background is process engineering and product development. So when you look at construction and a workflow, it all starts, from that planning phase. Now we got to actually figure out what it's going to take to put everything together. That's when you get bogged down. That's where the bottlenecks start. That's where all of the back and forth happens. So if we can figure out how to streamline that section of the process and everything that section touches. So there will be things like we're looking at scheduling. We didn't initially intend on going down that road because there's a tremendous amount of scheduling apps out there that we can simply plug in with, but starting to get some of the feedback and how we can interact with the way they're putting together their estimates, and now look at the predictive aspect of some of the warning signs they may not be factoring in when they're actually planning out their project schedule. These are the aspects we're focusing on. Again, it's not so much about traditional features, job costing, estimating, what have you. It's tasks nobody wants to do, can find the time to do, that need to get done and need to get done well so that business can run.
Yep. Definitely needed based on, again, I don't mean to sound negative, but the construction, it's such a slow ship to turn. They've just been so long doing it a few ways. So I'm glad you guys are out there. I wish you all the success of being that progressive disruptor to crawl, walk, run, and change the culture to elevate it to where it should essentially be. So
Yeah.
good
We
stuff.
appreciate it, good.
Well, everyone, that is a wrap for today's episode of Beyond the Build. We took away some real valuable lessons and insights, and I hope that you did as well.
If you enjoyed this episode, we would ask that you subscribe so you can never miss an update. If you're a thought leader looking to innovate in the construction industry, let's talk. We'd love to connect and hear your thoughts.
You can find Beyond the Build on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, plus anywhere else that you listen. And if you'd like to learn more about how Faro is changing logistics in the construction industry, please visit our website at faronow.com.
Once again, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, be humble, serve others, and make an impact.